This is Life Transformation Radio. Prepare to engage. Seatbelt activated. Download initiated. Your quantum journey of transformation begins in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. Hi, I'm Rob Actis, best-selling author of The Law of Action, voice actor, business mindset coach, the podcast whisperer, and Mr. Action himself. Life Transformation Radio is heard in over 90 countries. Thank you for joining us from all around the world. It's your first time joining us, or you've been listening to Life Transformation Radio for some time. I want to personally thank you. Here at Life Transformation Radio, we are committed to share more about real life, love, the power of positivity, romance, and of course, laughter. We care about helping others find their internal drive and purpose. We celebrate life's challenges and overcoming them. On the show, my guests are amazing people who are forces for good in the world around them and live a life of transformation. My guest today, he does just that. Today, Rudy Poe and I discuss finding joy in change. If you want to find the joy in change, understand that even through life can be messy, the chaos it brings can be necessary, and how having a lifelong of curiosity and learning is not only survival skills, but thrival skills. Well, this is the show for you. Rudy Poe describes his purpose in life in 3 simple words: change for better. No stranger to change, Rudy is an entrepreneur and Emmy Award-winning documentary filmmaker. He has co-founded 2 successful companies and produced over 200 hours of documentary productions. An adept innovator, storyteller, and changemaker, he is an expert at crafting thought-provoking messages and media that are practical, educational, and entertaining. His most recent work, very proud of, Embracing Change, your go-to guide to your desired future, is a useful, comprehensive, and easy-to-understand book and online course that helps individuals develop a future-forward mindset and become expert problem solvers, decision makers, and change for better makers themselves. Rudy, you are here. Welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
I am. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to talk to you today.
We have done it. We have fought through technology and we have made it happen. Talk about persistence. Like 3 times the charms, right? This third time?
No, second
time. All right. Well,
we're gonna get it. We're gonna get it done today.
Oh, we are definitely going to get it done today. Well, first of all, congratulations on being an Emmy Award winning. That's pretty awesome. Seriously.
Yeah, thank you.
Great thing. And 200 hours of documentary productions. That's a lot.
It is. It's a lot. I was working night and day for many, many years to get that done. And, it was a lot of different things for a lot of different people on a lot of different subjects. And, it was a lot of fun. You know, no 2 days were ever the same. So, change was part of my everyday routine there.
Out of all that documentary film, is there one that just really stood out that you felt was the catalyst for change in the world that had the most impact? I mean, I'm sure they all had impact, but is there one that just stands out for you?
Well, the one that stood out for me personally was one that I actually funded myself, which now 15 years later resulted in my book. It was originally called Imagine It.
Right.
And it was the Imagine It Project. And it was all about the importance of imagination and creativity in the world today. And it was geared towards kids mostly, to kind of get them all fired up about that, and teachers. And it was a lot of fun. I got to meet a lot of interesting people through interviews, et cetera. And just really personally satisfying to make what I call smart media.
That's awesome. So we'll talk about your book, Embracing Change, your go-to guide for your desired future. So you now have taken your documentary, turned it into a book and an online course. And, you know, one of the things that I really like is change for better. So how do you describe change for better?
Well, we all know there's a lot of change for worse in the world, right? I mean, we don't need to add to that.
Exactly.
So I like to be the antithesis of that. You know, I mean, change for better. It's all about learning and curiosity and being positive. I mean, I know that's all go, rah, rah, but you know, it really is that simple. I mean, if you just put your head down and imagine what your future can be, and then get out there and do what you can to make it happen.
Yeah. I try to approach, all of my interviews here on Life Transformation Radio, because we cover a wide variety of people. I mean, I talk to people that they channel Archangel Michael and just very spirituality and stuff like that. And I approach it in very childlike wonder, like just very, like, I don't know all this. And so the questions that I ask are like, wow, that's fascinating. Tell me more. So what's that like? How is that? So how do you approach doing that of embracing change and not having it be, change for the worse? Because life is changing constantly all the time. And, we're having to make massive adjustments. So what are some things that people can take away from this and have it so it's change for the better and not change for the worse?
Well, I think everything really starts with awareness, and a lot of people go through life, I think, not really being aware of all that's going on and like just not paying attention to that. And so, I kind of believe there's two kinds of change. There's the change that happens to you, which it happens to all of us, right? There's not really a lot you can do about that. Right. And there's change that happens because of us. So it's more like taking a proactive stance at life rather than a reactive stance. A lot of people go through life just reacting to everything, constantly behind sort of where you got to be to make things positive. So if you can start to be aware of what's going on around you, what you want and what you think, and it's like, how does that, without awareness, you're not going to get anywhere. So that's always the first step.
Right. Yeah. I see a lot of people and they actually go through life. And it's really like they're just on a boat without a rudder or an engine. Life just happens at them and they don't do anything but react like what you said. And I think that sounds like a very exhausting way to go through life.
Just reacting to everything and feeling kind of hopeless. I'm like, oh, life just keeps happening to me. I mean, there's really only two things. I actually read this in another book and I've really adopted it. There's two things that we can control, and that is our attitude and our actions. So the attitude how you respond, how you look at the world that day, and then what you set out to do about it. Those are really the only two things you can control.
Absolutely. And, with action, so, the law of action in my book was written based on the missing link of the law of attraction. Because a lot of people want to visualize and they want to do that and they want everything just to happen to them. But if I want to get to the other side of the room, I have to take the action of getting out of my chair and walking across the room. The wall is not going to come closer to me. And it's very important to embrace driving your life, because life will drive you. The universe will drive you. Your life will, if you just are a floating raft and I look at it this way, it's kind of like you're in an ocean and there's a sea of sharks. If, they will kind of bump you and see how you react to them. And that's kind of like you being in a raft. And if you want to stay in that sea of sharks, without, you don't paddle away or figure out a way to get out of there, you're just going to deal with the morass of sharks that are in your life. Good, bad, indifferent. If you have a motor, you can drive that boat to another spot where those sharks don't want to hang out.
Right. When I was in grad school at UCLA, I took a class. I was in the film school, but we had to take classes over in the MBA, the business school, for some things for the business of show business part.
Right.
And we had a teacher, and he says he was like the president of Columbia Studios, and he says, if there's one thing I can teach you in this class, it's be lucky. And we all kind of looked at each other. What do you mean, be lucky? It's like, well, he says, get up. Your luck is not going to find you on the couch. You have to get up. It's like somebody else famous said, the harder I work, the luckier I get. So that here I am, 30 plus years later repeating it. So it obviously stuck with me.
Yeah. Well, it brings up, so like you just read my book, and it's funny because that's one of the things that I did. I wanted to be in radio since I was a little kid. And I was working selling copiers, and a friend of mine who worked at a radio station, and I was on a college radio station, he actually asked me, he goes, so, are you just, do you think someone's just going to knock on your door and say, hey, Rob, we want you on the radio. And it was so funny because that's exactly the way I was living my life. And I actually thought that's what was going to happen. And sure enough, within a matter of days, he goes, you got to get a job at a radio station. So I'm like, oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense. And it clicked in my mind. I got a job at the radio station, became a receptionist, and in a very short amount of time, I was behind working promotions and then production, and then I was on the air. I started at the number one radio station in San Diego, which is pretty unusual in the environment of radio. But I will admit, and I feel just so dumb about it, I actually thought they were going to find me. Like, I really thought that.
But you got in the door, and you were the one standing there, and they needed something, right? And you were there. They were like, we need something, and they looked across the table, and there you were, right? So there's your opportunity. If you weren't in the room, you wouldn't have the opportunity,
right? Right.
One thing that when I was in film school, I was like, I need to make some money to help me pay for film schools, but I wanted a job. I wanted to work doing some commercial work, and so I went and I researched, and I got a book, and of all the production companies that made commercials in town, and this was in LA, so there were a lot of them. So I sat down and I wrote a letter to each and every one of them, and I said, I want to work for you. I will work for free. And within 24 hours, I got a phone call, and they said, come on down. We need a production assistant. And it's like the low man on the totem pole, right? It's like, I'm in. Cool. Awesome. I go there, and next day, I worked one day for free. Next day I had a paying gig because you're good. You're going to stick around. We want you around. So I was the paid production assistant the next day. So you just got to get out there and make things happen,
Yeah. It's interesting because, I have a friend when I was growing up, they're like, man, I want to work for MTV. And they're just like, all these people are so lucky they work for MTV. They work for MTV and blah, blah, blah. And this was after I discovered that they weren't going to knock on my door to come work in radio. And I said, what are you doing to work at MTV? Nothing. But you want to work there. And for some reason, as humans, we have this mindset is that, they're going to come to us. And I love what that professor says is that be lucky, take action, be lucky, put yourself in those environments. I mean, that's the whole thing of networking, and just show up and be the incredible you. And there's opportunities there. But if you stay home on the couch and do nothing, the odds of you being successful in this world or in your dream job are not going to be. I mean, even just getting on the internet and sending emails is a way to do that. And that's about, embracing the change for the better, because a lot of people lost their jobs. And some people thrived and some people did not thrive.
Yeah, another thing is to look at that, like say you lost your job in this or whatever. I mean, I know somebody who's looking for a job right now, and, it's like, it's an opportunity. People don't necessarily see it's like, oh, it's a negative. I just got fired. It's like, well, that's an opportunity. Now you can, like, your friends who wanted to work for MTV. It's like, well, I always think it's like, not everybody's an entrepreneur. I've had my own companies, but I started working for other companies to sort of learn the ropes and all that. And that's how I did. And I took that and I did that. But, if you're looking for a job, I always see it as like, you're interviewing them as much as they're interviewing you, and you get the opportunity and the possibility of starting that search. It's like, a lot of people just go looking through the job, the classifieds or whatever. And that's what's there. But why not be proactive and say, well, what company do I want to work for? Do I want to work for MTV, or do I want to work for this company or that? And find like the top 10 companies that you want to work for, and then put your effort into that. At least you're going down the right path. And who cares if they have a job availability or an opening on the internet or whatever, go say, I want to work for you, and introduce yourself. And maybe they'll find a place. Maybe you'll get lucky. Maybe you're there on the day that something was necessary, and, but you were being proactive, not just waiting for somebody to post something.
Yeah. I tell a lot of people, you're just a secret. You're incredible and you're a secret. They just don't know about you. I have a guy friends, and they're like, you know what? I can't, I'm going to die alone. I don't have a girlfriend. I never go on dates. They never approach a woman. They never ask them out. I said, look, dude, I'm sorry, but you're not the top of the herd. You're not the alpha male. You kind of don't trust your confidence. And that's one thing that women find attractive. So they're not going to knock on your door. They're not going to ask you out. And if you don't approach them, you're not. So we were out and I said, look, just go up and just say hi. No, I said, you know what you're going to do? You're going to go and you're going to ask for, there was a happy hour menu. And I took there's 5 on our table and around us, and I grabbed them all. And I said, just go up there and just ask for the happy hour menu. And he went up there and I didn't give him an assignment. And sure enough, he hit it off with the girl. They just did a banter and it was just so natural. He wasn't thinking about asking her out. And they actually have gone out a couple of times. He actually just got in the mode. It was like, he goes, would you want to go to coffee sometime? But he didn't think about it. And now it's like, there you go. You have to take action. You have to have that momentum in your life to drive, because otherwise, you're stuck with change, and change happens all around us. With action, there's consequences, whether it's good or bad or positive or negative. And you have to be able to drive it to make it better.
Yeah. You have a thing in your book, you call it the consequences of not taking action, or the law of inaction.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly.
I have something I call Rudyisms. They're my favorite go-tos whenever I run into trouble, and I have a bunch of them. But one of them is like, if you're not moving forward, you're moving back as the world moves on without you.
Absolutely.
So, you got to keep moving forward. And Wayne Gretzky's got a great one. He says, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
That's in my book. Yeah. I quoted that. It's one of my favorite one. And it's so true. And I don't know what it is with the human condition where, well, maybe it is fear, but people do not drive their life. Just like a lot of people, they're entrepreneurs or they want to start a business and they don't drive their business. They just let it happen. Oh, my business failed. Yeah, but you didn't drive it. You have to manage your business. You have to drive your business. It just doesn't. It can exist, but it's not going to last. You're in that raft with the sharks. You gotta paddle or get a motorboat and get the heck out of those sharks.
Yeah. I mean, that's why I have something I call your desired future. So whether it's business or personal or whatever, I mean, instead of doing nothing, it's easy enough to sit there and kind of envision, like, what do you want your life to be? And we don't have just one future. We have many futures. We have our future of work, our future of play, our future of relationships, our future of where we live, on and on. There's dozens of them, right? So if you just pick any one of those and say, well, what do I want? What do I really want? What's the future I want to experience? Because we all have an infinite number of futures. So odds are kind of against you getting the one you want. So unless you do something about it, so if you forecast what you want, and then I'm a big fan of we're then working backwards from there. Okay, so if I were to achieve that, what do I have to do before that? And what do I have to do before that? And before that? And before that? And just back it in, right? I mean, it's not really that hard. It's one step in front of the other. So it's just a way of looking at it in a different way, not just from here forward, but from there back.
We have a lot of parallels in our life of how you say that, because I work backwards just like John F. Kennedy did, from getting on the moon and working backwards for stuff. And it's a fun way to live your life. And it definitely makes things happen. Definitely makes things happen.
You might be accused of being a daydreamer or whatever, but that's okay. Better to be a dreamer than something else. So.
Absolutely. I want to hear some more Rudyisms. Come on, throw some at me.
Okay. Life is messy. Chaos is necessary. So when things start getting sideways, just know that the universe did not start from a place of order. It started from a place of chaos. In fact, if you go all the way back in religion, the very first God was chaos back in Greek days, and chaos created order. So don't be scared of chaos. It's gonna happen. It's okay. So when things start getting a little wiggy, that's okay. Just know that chaos is necessary.
I love it. When you talk about chaos, I revert back to watching Jurassic Park, where Jeff Goldblum was talking about, the math and the chaos, and that it's perfect now, but nature has a way of changing things.
Yeah.
What's another? Go ahead.
Another one? A better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Always.
We grow up having to ask for permission. You're in school. It's like, oh, can I go to the bathroom? Can I stand up now, please? And all that. And then as adults, we continue to ask for permission. It's like, you want to do something? You go around asking everybody, is it okay? Should I do that? It's like, just do it. When I started my first business, I used to clean the gunk off bottoms of boats when I was in college. That's what I did. It was not a glamorous job, but it paid well. And what I did to market myself, I would, every year I lived in San Francisco area, and I would scale all the marinas where they had security. They had like fences, with broken fence around it. So it was hard. But I would scale the fences, and I would break into the harbors essentially. And I would put a little flyer inside of everybody's boat so that when they came down, the first thing would see would be, here's Rudy's company. I want to clean the stuff off the bottom of your boat. So,
that's awesome.
And I did get caught a couple times, like, hey, you stop that. It's like, oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know. And you just play kind of dumb.
Yeah.
But I got the flyers out, and it kept me busy all year. So better to ask forgiveness than permission.
Well, also I would think that, if you're at a marina, you have to have some, financial success by owning a boat, and probably the boats that were there. So they're going to respect, one, your drive and your ambition and your tenacity to get the job. And I'm sure you probably got some jobs based on the fact that, wait a minute, you scaled that thing. You brought a flyer in here. Shame on you, but I want to hire you because you're someone who's living a life, in action, and you're probably going to do a great job because you have the tenacity to get to me, and you're not sitting at home on your couch.
Yeah. Help pay my way through college. I know that to be true.
Yeah, absolutely. It's interesting that, Kim Kardashian's in a big brouhaha because she went out and she called out all women and saying that they didn't work hard, and that's why they weren't successful. Well, she was born in a very wealthy family, and she didn't have to find luck. Luck was handed to her. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of people think that, just working hard is going to get them somewhere. And it's not. Just working hard. You have to work smart, and you have to work with intention. You have to put yourself in the places you need to be to get the opportunities that you need for your life. And you need to also be the person you need to be able to perform at the level to have the success that you want in your life. And I think that's a missing link that a lot of people don't think about and don't even feel is important.
Yeah. And, so Kim Kardashian, she had all the money in the world, right, to do whatever it is that she
absolutely
did. I have another Rudyism that says, where the budget ends, the creativity begins.
Yeah.
So, we always made student films, and I made documentaries, and, documentaries typically don't have like, world-class budgets, right?
Right.
So it's like, whenever it's like, okay, if you don't have the money, then think of some creative solution to figure out another way around it, over it, under it, through it, whatever way you got to get past that issue. And I think some of the best solutions come when you don't have any money. It's like, sometimes you throw money at it. It's like, who can't make a movie for $100 million? I mean, I'm sorry, but.
Exactly. And what I find, I love documentaries. I watch a lot of documentaries, and I'm excited to go back and find some of yours, in that the creativity on the smallest of budgets are so beautiful and so well executed. It's just unbelievable how they do it. It's just, and I love that about the fact is, if you don't have the money, because it is easy to make an incredible film with $100 million, and a lot of $100 million films are not incredible,
right,
in any way, shape. But documentaries, the way that they do just the audio production, just the sound design in them, and the transitions and the storytelling, and they're beautiful. I mean, documentaries, and even if you don't agree with the content of the documentary, just the way, the purity of the film is man, it warms my heart. I really, really like documentaries for that effect. And I don't agree all the time with what I'm seeing, but a lot of times I'm just like, this is a beautiful piece of film.
Yeah. I mean, and I love documentaries. I actually accidentally fell into documentaries. It was quite by chance, but I mean, I'm so happy that I did, because I love research. I love learning. Learning is important, to never stop learning. If you want any advice,
absolutely,
today, never stop learning.
There's another Rudyism: never stop learning.
Never stop learning. And a documentary is kind of like life in a way. It's like it's a puzzle that nobody gave you the instructions for. It's not like you look at the cover of the box and the finished piece is on there that you have some guide to go by.
Right.
It's like you got to make up the pieces and figure out how they fit together and make it so that it does look seamless and does just flow together. Like, wow, that's amazing. And it's all these disparate things that you have to bring together in a beautiful, elegant way. So.
Yeah, and one of the things about documentaries is a lot of times you go into a documentary with a certain agenda or approach, and then you do research and you discover, and you're like, oh, wow, this is a lot different. And things change because, life is ebbing and flowing as you're interviewing people and stuff. The story can change in a dramatic way.
Yeah, a good documentarian, I think, lets the material lead the way. It's not like if you were to make a TV show or a script, you write the script, you make the show, you edit it together, and there you go, 1, 2, 3. But a documentary, you kind of have an idea, you research, you go shoot some interviews, and then people tell you stuff you didn't know, and then so you change it, and that sends you down rabbit holes, and you go, oh, and that's great. How do we work that in? And that's other things not that interesting, but you just keep going, and it's just like this massaging this till the end.
Yeah, I remember a documentary I saw. I don't remember the name of it. It's a woman. She was a very far left feminist, and she was going to go in, and she had a very set agenda of what she was going to do. It was talking about how men are bad. I mean, that's just pretty much it. And what happened was, through her research and talking to these men, she was, it's red pill. She was red pilled, but I think it's called red pill. And it was fascinating because she discovered that men have the highest rate of suicide and all these other things about men. She had no idea. She just had this agenda, and she totally flip-flopped. It's quite fascinating. I don't know if you've ever seen it before, but she was very, very strong feminist, and her whole mindset changed in going through the process of making this documentary. And so what she thought her documentary was going to be was far different than what it actually became. Very, very transformational for a lot of people in her life. And it was a very difficult thing for her to do. And, that's the thing in the power of documentaries, is that they can be very transformational, not only for you as a viewer, but for the documentarian who's making the film. Have you ever had any experiences of that where you were making a documentary and your life, your perception, everything was different after you got out through the other end? Yeah.
I mean, I always did work for hire. So most of the time until I did the Imagine thing that I told you about, I was my own project. So I would get thrown into things that I typically knew nothing about. Right. And I would have to quickly become an expert in whatever it was. I mean, I made a film called Hear Us Now. And it was a family who had 2 twin daughters who had an ultra rare disease, and they weren't expected to live beyond their 10th birthday. And the mom did amazing things to help them live much longer and did amazing things for science, and they're incredible people. So I got thrown into this whole thing of drug development and pharmaceuticals. And so, when you learn how something works, it's like, wow, people take so much for granted until you actually dive into it. It's kind of like you were saying about that woman on the documentary. And, those people are very good friends of mine now. And so, there's a bonding as you go through these processes too.
So what is your why? What gets you up in the morning? Why do you do what you do? Why do you breathe? Why are you still here? What is your why?
Well, I mean, I love learning. I am the most curious person why? Why is this? Why is that? That's one of the things that drives me. The whole reason I wrote my book, it was because it stems from a pet peeve. And my pet peeve is that people don't like to change. And we live in this, I belong to all these future groups too. I'm not a sci-fi guy, but I really love where the world's going and how many opportunities there are, and all the great tech and all that stuff that's out there. Yeah. And, I just think people would really benefit from stopping with the mindset of oh, I just wish it would be the way it was. It's it's not going to be, people, and it's going to be wonderful. And a lot of people don't think the world's getting better. They think it's getting worse. And I would like to show people how they can make their own lives better and how the world is actually getting better. I know the news won't tell you that, but there are so many statistics and wonderful stories of how it is getting better. And you can be part of one of those stories of getting better if you just adopt that mindset. And being a documentarian, I've dove into this, right? I mean, I spent a couple of years just researching this idea of change. And it's fascinating. And a lot of the reasons people don't like the change is because it's all in our head. And most of our blocks are in our head. So if I can help people get past that, I know that like some people have taken my class and have said wonderful things about it. And like, oh, I've changed. I look at things differently. That's very rewarding. So I really enjoy that. I enjoy teaching, and that all kind of fits together. So that's what I enjoy doing, and hope to, earn my keep on the planet, if you were, by adopting this attitude and taking the actions I have.
Great attitude. Yeah, I'm surrounded by a lot of light workers, and they have all said it's getting better. It doesn't look like it's getting better, but it's getting better.
Yeah. I mean, it's simple little things that we all take for granted. I mean, I know this may sound silly, but like, I live in Sarasota, and we have the Ringling Mansion here, and and we toured some of the big mansions up in Newport, Rhode Island, and all that a couple of years ago. And you look at what the richest people in the world had back then, and it's nowhere near what some of the poorest people have now. You know what I mean? In just 100 years. So that's just one example that hits you in the face when you go do something like this. Air conditioning. Oh, what is that? If you were 100 years ago, what's air conditioning?
I was just watching something. It was a drama, but it was hilarious. I don't know where I saw it. I can't place where I saw it, but they're like, I guess they were coming up with an idea, and they're like, hey, we need to have indoor toilets. And they're like, that is disgusting. Why would we ever want to put the toilet in our house? Our house is our home. And it's just funny how things transition to what they are, and how lucky we are. I mean, I think of, there's a technology. You're in Sarasota, and here I am talking to you over this magical thing called the internet. And it's amazing. And it records digital. And I think of, talking to my Siri, and it plays music magically in my home. I remember a time, and as you, we're the same age bracket, is that we didn't have cell phones. We didn't have this stuff. I remember being in school, and a computer came out, and it wasn't even really a computer, and we played a game of football, and you just played the arrows on your keys. It was like, if you wanted to do a run, you would do R. And if you wanted to do a pass, you would do P. And it was all mathematical. You never saw anything. It was just a printer that would come out. Mm-hmm. And that was amazing. And then when the electric typewriter started to come out, and, all these changes have happened in a very short amount of time.
And they're happening faster and faster and faster. There's this convergence going on, and people, if you don't sort of study it or read about it. I have all these things pushed to me in my feed and my email. Right. So I see all these cool things happening that are not in the news, and people think, oh, that's going to happen in like 20, 30 years. Like, no, it's like, they're bringing that online right now, that kind of thing. And again, it's an opportunity if you kind of pay attention and go back to the awareness thing. If you're aware of things, you can participate in them.
Yeah, so you'll relate to this. I mean, probably people are going to tune out when I say this because they're getting really techie, but I don't care. I think it'd be fine. But just to show you how far things have changed, there's a new software program for audio, and it uses AI technology, and it's designed for filmmakers and documentary filmmakers. And what it does is, using the AI technology, it takes your raw audio with all the background noise, and then you don't even have to let it learn. It actually does whatever magic it does, and then it sees where the audio is in the audio waveform, and then it extracts that, and then everything that's not voice is eliminated. So there's very little, on low budgets. Think of all the money that costs to do, ADR, audio dialogue replacement, and to bring in, and to add all that extra sound. That's here today. And the promo video I just saw today was, it saved me a week of time. Yeah. It's a couple $100 program, and it's fascinating. AI technology is a whole nother, rabbit hole that we can go down. And it's kind of, it's if you look at the joy of the world, like I saw a butterfly today. I was out walking in the grass and I saw a butterfly today. And I haven't seen a butterfly in I don't know how long. And I'm like, we're going to be okay. And it was the weirdest thing. I saw a butterfly and I'm like, we're going to be okay. It may be rough. And I think my prediction and what everybody has said around, not prediction, I'm not going to predict, but what people have told me is that things are going to get a lot worse so they get it better, but they're going to get better. Yeah. So. Well, good has always triumphed over evil, at least in the big picture up to this point. So let's just hope that continues to be the case, Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, I have to say that change for the better, and the change is that I got to have you as a guest today on Life Transformation Radio. Thank you so much, Rudy. I really, really appreciate you being here today. It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. If you want to reach Rudy, you can go to his website at rudypoe.com. And he's a great guy. He's super cool. I mean, I just looked up. I'm like, wow, I thought we had talked for like 5 minutes and we've talked for a little bit longer. So thank you for joining us today, and thank you for your support and taking the time out of your busy and precious day to listen. I so appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me, along my very special guest, Rudy Poe, to touch your heart, move your soul, hear about cool things tech, and inspire you to live a life of transformation. I'm Rob Actis. Until next time.
This is Life Transformation Radio. Download complete.